All right, you ready for this? We're going to Bosnia today.
Bosnia.
Yeah, Bosnia. Beautiful country, super complex history.
Right, right. The Balkans.
Yeah, but we're not diving into all that today. We're looking at something, well, let's just say controversial.
Oh, this is going to be good. Lay it on me.
So there's this businessman, right? Claims he's found pyramids, Bosnian pyramids.
Hold on, pyramids, like Egyptian-style pyramids
Yeah.
in Bosnia.
And get this, he says they're bigger and older than the Egyptian ones.
Okay, now that's a claim and a half. Got to hear more about this.
Oh, we will. We've got a whole stack of sources here. Wikipedia, some articles, even a YouTube video all about these Bosnian pyramids. But before we get into all that, let's set the scene.
Yeah, good idea. Where are we exactly?
We're talking about a town called Visoko. It's northwest of Sarajevo.
Visoko. Doesn't ring a bell.
Yeah, not exactly a tourist hotspot before all this pyramid stuff.
So was it always just kind of, under the radar?
Well, it does have some medieval history. It was actually Bosnia's capital back in the Middle Ages.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah, and there are even some old fortress ruins on top of one of these so-called pyramids.
So there is some real history there, at least.
Exactly. But now it's all about these pyramids, apparently. And at the center of it all is this guy, Semir Osmanagić. He's the one who's been pushing this whole Bosnian pyramid idea since 2005.
Okay, 2005, that's fairly recent. And who is this guy?
He's a Bosnian-American businessman, and he's been promoting these pyramids as, like, a major tourist attraction?
A tourist attraction. I mean, I guess if people believe it.
Oh, they do. And he's really playing it up. He hasn't just named them like Pyramid 1, Pyramid 2.
Let me guess. He's gone for something a little more dramatic.
Oh, yeah. We're talking Pyramid of the Sun, Pyramid of the Moon, Pyramid of Love, Earth, and the Dragon.
Wow, okay, he's not messing around. That's some serious branding.
But here's the thing. While the tourists might be loving it,
I bet.
the scientists, they're not buying it at all.
They're not.
Nope. They're calling it pseudo-archaeology.
Pseudo-archaeology. Okay. Now, for those of us who aren't archaeologists, what does that even mean?
Basically, it means using the ideas and tools of archaeology, but in a way that isn't, real science.
So less Indiana Jones, more, I don't know.
More like making stuff up to fit a story.
Gotcha. So the scientists are saying this guy, Osmanagić, he's not doing real research.
Exactly. They say his methods are flawed and his conclusions, well, let's just say they're not exactly based on hard evidence.
So what is he basing them on then, if not evidence?
Well, that's what we're going to find out. We need to look at what he's actually claiming, what he's saying proves these hills are pyramids.
Okay, yeah, let's hear it. What's his evidence?
Well, one of his main arguments is about the shape of the hills. He says they have these triangular faces, and they're laid out in a way that aligns with the cardinal points, just like a lot of ancient pyramids.
It does sound kind of pyramid-y, I guess.
Right, and he even had a surveyor come out, confirmed that the Pyramid of the Sun, as he calls it, aligns with true north.
Okay, so he's got some data points.
He does. But the geologists and archaeologists, they say, hold on, these hills, they're natural formations. Just the way the rock layers have eroded over millions of years. They call them flat irons.
Flat irons, interesting.
Yeah, and they say these flat irons can look a lot like pyramids, especially if you're, looking for pyramids.
So nature mimicking human construction.
Exactly. And as for aligning with the cardinal points, well, they say that's not that unusual either. Lots of natural features can do that.
Okay, so maybe not pyramids then. But what about the other stuff he's found? I read something about tunnels and super strong concrete.
Ah, yes. The tunnels and the concrete. Those are definitely some of the more intriguing pieces of the puzzle.
All right, let's dig into that then. What's the story with these tunnels?
So he calls them the Raven Tunnels, and he claims they're part of this huge ancient network, and that they're full of healing energy, no less.
Healing energy. This is getting better and better.
Right. But the geologists, they say, these tunnels, they're probably just natural cavities in the rock, maybe formed by underground water over time.
So not secret passages built by ancient pyramid-building people.
Not so much. And the concrete, the super strong concrete, well, that's just naturally occurring rock, too. Conglomerate and sandstone, actually.
So no ancient super concrete recipe. Bummer.
Yeah, but the way it's fractured and weathered, it can look a lot like cut stone blocks.
Ah, I see. So is he maybe, I don't know, exaggerating a little, making things seem more ancient than they really are?
Well, some people think so. There have even been accusations that he's had his team alter the hillsides, make them look more like stepped pyramids.
Wow, really? Altering the site, that's crossing a line.
Yeah, if it's true, that's a big problem. It means you're potentially destroying real archaeological evidence to fit your theory.
Not cool.
Mhm.
So where does that leave us? We've got this businessman claiming pyramids, scientists saying no way, and maybe some questionable practices going on.
It's a mess, isn't it? And we haven't even touched on how the local community feels about all of this. But that's a whole other can of worms.
All right, so next up, we hear from the people who actually live there. This should be interesting.
Okay, so we've got these pyramids, tourists, scientists saying it's all a bunch of hooey, but what about the people who actually live there? How are they reacting to all this?
Yeah, that's a really important piece of this whole puzzle. I mean, imagine living in a place that certainly becomes this, global phenomenon, especially a place like Bosnia, which has, a pretty heavy history.
Right, the Bosnian War, that was what, the 90s?
Yeah, and did 95. And that conflict, it really left its mark on the region. I mean, not just physically, but emotionally, too. So when this whole pyramid thing popped up, well, for some people, it was almost like a beacon of hope.
Like a sense of pride.
Exactly. This idea that their land, their country, might hold these incredible ancient secrets. Pyramids even older and bigger than the Egyptian ones. It was a way to, I don't know, reclaim their history, their identity after all that trauma.
It's like out of the ashes of war rises pyramids.
In a way, yeah. And that narrative, it really resonated with some people, especially those who were looking for something positive, something unifying after all the division and conflict.
So you're saying these pyramids, whether real or not, they gave people a sense of hope.
Absolutely. A connection to a glorious past, a past that predates all the recent turmoil. But of course, not everyone bought into it.
I was just thinking that. There had to be people who were like, hold on a second.
Oh, absolutely. You had a whole range of reactions. Some people were skeptical, worried that this whole pyramid frenzy might distract from, the real history of the region.
You mean like actual archaeological sites that might get overlooked or even damaged because everyone's focused on these pyramids?
Exactly. And there's also the economic side of things. I mean, think about it. Suddenly you have this influx of tourists. Some people see that as a good thing, a boost for the local economy.
Right, jobs, money coming in.
Exactly. But others worry about the potential downsides. What happens if it all turns out to be a bust?
Yeah, and what about the long-term impact on the environment, on the cultural landscape?
Right. All those questions start to pop up. And then there's the whole spiritual aspect of this, which adds another layer of complexity.
The spiritual side. Oh, right, those tunnels, the Ravni tunnels.
Yeah. Osmanagić, he doesn't just claim they're ancient. He says they're full of this, mystical energy, healing energy, good vibes, that sort of thing.
Okay, so now we've got pyramids, archaeology, tourism, and spirituality.
It's a lot, right?
Yeah.
But think about it. Humans have always been drawn to these kinds of mysteries, places that have this aura of, I don't know, the supernatural.
Subtracting Stonehenge, the pyramids in Egypt, people attribute all sorts of powers to these places.
It's like a deep-seated need to connect with something bigger than ourselves, something ancient, something mysterious.
And Osmanagić, he's tapped right into that.
He has. By promoting these tunnels as a place for, spiritual healing and awakening, he even organizes group meditation sessions in there.
Wow. Okay, so we've gone from pyramids to, maybe not pyramids, to economic hopes and fears, to now, spiritual retreats.
That's the Bosnian pyramids for you. It's a story that just keeps unfolding, revealing new layers. And it really makes you think about the power of belief, the way we humans create narratives to explain the world around us.
It's like even if the pyramids themselves aren't real, the stories they inspire, the beliefs they evoke, those are very real.
And those stories, they can have a real impact on people's lives, on their communities, on their understanding of themselves and the world. It's a powerful thing.
All right, so we've covered a lot of ground here, but I got to ask, we've danced around it long enough. What about the really out there stuff? Osmanagić and his claims about Atlantis, ancient astronauts. Where does all that fit in?
Oh, yeah. That's a whole other rabbit hole. But we've got time, right? Let's dive in.
All right, Atlantis, ancient astronauts. We're going full sci-fi here. I mean, where does he even get these ideas?
Well, these aren't exactly new ideas, are they? These theories about lost civilizations and alien interventions, they've been around for a while.
Yeah, but they're usually associated with, the History Channel at 3 a.m., not actual archaeological sites.
True, but there's always been that fringe element, folks who look at ancient structures like the pyramids or Stonehenge and just can't believe that, well, humans could have built them.
It's like, our ancestors sophisticated enough to do that. No way. Must have been aliens.
Pretty much, they see these incredible feats of engineering and automatically jump to advanced technology, lost knowledge, extraterrestrial health.
It's a tempting narrative, isn't it? I mean, who doesn't love a good ancient alien story?
Oh, definitely. It's exciting, it's mysterious, it makes you feel like there's this whole hidden history just waiting to be uncovered.
But we can't just throw out logic and evidence because something sounds cool, right?
Exactly. As fun as those theories might be, we have to stick to what we can actually prove, what the data tells us. So, how do Atlantis and ancient astronauts tie into the Bosnian pyramids, specifically?
Yeah, what's the connection? He's not saying aliens built these hills, is he?
Not directly, no. But there are hints, suggestions. Like with Atlantis, for example. He kind of implies that the civilization that built these supposed pyramids, they might have had some link to this legendary lost city.
Atlantis, the island that sank beneath the waves. That Atlantis.
The one and only. And yeah, most scholars believe that was just a story Plato made up to illustrate a point, not an actual historical place.
But people have been looking for Atlantis for centuries.
Oh, absolutely. It's one of those enduring mysteries that just captures the imagination.
So Osmanagić is saying maybe, just maybe, Bosnia holds the key to finding Atlantis.
Something like that. He likes this idea of Bosnia being this, cradle of civilization, a place where advanced knowledge existed way before conventional history says it did.
Okay, and what about the ancient astronauts? Where do they fit into all of this?
Well, that ties back to the idea that ancient humans just weren't capable of building these complex structures on their own. So who helped them?
Aliens. It's always aliens.
Right. And again, while Osmanagić doesn't come right out and say it, he does talk about things like cosmic energy and ancient technologies being present at the pyramid site.
So he's playing into that whole ancient astronaut narrative, even if he's not explicitly saying E.T. built the pyramids.
Exactly. He's leaving it open to interpretation, letting people draw their own conclusions.
Yeah.
Which, can be pretty effective if you're trying to create a sense of mystery and intrigue.
Okay, so we've got this whole spectrum of claims here, from the shape of the hills to the tunnels to Atlantis to ancient astronauts. Some more grounded, some way out there. It's quite a mix.
It is. And it really speaks to the power of belief. How our desire for meaning, for answers, can sometimes lead us down some pretty interesting paths.
Even if those paths lead to, well, maybe not the most scientifically sound conclusions.
Right. But I think there's also something to be said for keeping an open mind, for questioning the accepted narrative, for exploring different possibilities, even if those possibilities turn out to be, well, a little out there.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive into the Bosnian pyramids, what's the takeaway here? What do we want our listeners to walk away with?
I think the big thing is to be critical thinkers. Don't just accept everything you hear at face value. Do your own research, question your assumptions, and be willing to consider different perspectives, especially when it comes to claims that seem, well, a little too good to be true.
Right. Just because someone says something with confidence doesn't mean it's true. Look for the evidence, look for the logic, and don't be afraid to say, hey, wait a minute, that doesn't add up.
Absolutely. And I think it's also a good reminder that history is complex. It's not always black and white. There are often multiple narratives, multiple interpretations of events. And it's up to us to sift through the evidence, to weigh the different perspectives, and to come to our own conclusions.
So are the Bosnian pyramids real? Are they a hoax? Or is it something in between?
Honestly, that's a question each listener has to answer for themselves. There's no easy answer. But I think the journey of exploring that question, of digging into the evidence and considering the different sides of the story, that's where the real learning happens.
Exactly. And hey, if this deep dive has sparked your curiosity, I encourage you to keep digging. Do your own research, read the articles, watch the videos, explore the different theories, and most importantly, come to your own conclusions. Maybe you'll uncover something we missed. Who knows? The Bosnian pyramids, they're full of surprises.
They are indeed, and that's part of what makes them so fascinating.
All right, folks, that's it for this week's Deep Dive. Thanks for joining us as we explored the mysteries of the Bosnian pyramids. Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep those minds open.
And keep an eye out for pyramids. You never know where they might pop up.